Hello and welcome back to Bleeding Blue. We are on the Talkin Giants YouTube channel. We are in your ears. We are on the podcast app. This is a Giants history podcast. Thank you for the feedback on the first week. Thank you for the reaction. Thank you for watching. It was a lot of fun breaking down some NFC Championship, all five NFC Championship games next 2 weeks. We got kind of 2 weeks for the Super Bowl. This week we're going to be breaking down 1987 Super Bowl 21, and also we will be breaking down to Super Bowl 42 2008. Next week we'll be doing the other two Super Bowls. I am with one of my best friends, Snacks. How are you doing? Welcome back. We're Bleeding Blue. Are you excited to talk two Super Bowls? One that you think is kind of a dud, but then the other game that you think is most important win in franchise history. Are you excited?
Without a doubt. I'm very excited. And to answer your first question, because you probably just ran through another question, so because you didn't want to know how I was doing, I am doing very well. So thank you for asking that. I'm very excited. The 07 Super Bowl 42. Yes, that's the matriarch of all games. The best win in franchise history, if you ask me. And I'm sure a lot of other people would say that too. But Super Bowl 21 in itself was a dud because the game was a blowout. But I mean, I'm not going to complain about a Super Bowl blowout, am I?
No, and it was 10-9 at halftime too. And also, this is so strange. We'll kind of jump around a little bit, but it's so interesting. There was a graphic that came up at the start of the second half for Super Bowl 21, where John Madden and Pat Summerall were on the call. We're going to talk about them when we talk about this game and just how magical they are. And for me, Snacks, I know you got to hear John Madden call a lot of games. When was Pat Summerall's career? When did that span? Do you know on top of your head? No,
not off the top of my head. No, but he must have been done early 2000s.
Yeah. So you didn't really get a chance to really sit down and listen to him and appreciate him.
No, I'm sure I heard him because I know he called like the 01 playoffs. I know he was there, so I don't know how much longer his career was after that. So to appreciate his greatness, no, not really.
Yeah, no, and I certainly didn't. But you got to appreciate like latter end John Madden.
Yes,
they were miraculous. We'll talk about them when we get to Super Bowl 21. And I forget what my point was, Snacks. I forget what my point was. Oh, 1 point. Oh, they showed a graphic at the beginning of the second half in Super Bowl 21, and what that graphic was is all Super Bowls leading up to that. So 20 Super Bowls leading up to that game, there was a 10-point lead. Like the average was 10 points. So Super Bowls largely back then, and I'm very glad the NFL has kind of turned a tide where every single year you feel like a game does come down to the wire.
Yeah.
Whether that's on purpose, if you believe games are rigged, or just the quality of talent and competition in the NFL has gone up over the years. So I'm glad that is the case. But Super Bowls back then were kind of duds. Like it was just a team that was really dominant and then a team that maybe stumbled its way in there. But it's ironic that the Giants also in 2007 stumbled their way in there too. So
stumbled right in there, and what a great stumble it was. So that's a funny stat. I didn't know that, the 10 points.
Yeah.
Kind of strange early in the Super Bowl era.
I mean, we could look up Super Bowls right now if we really wanted to. And there was just a ton of games where it was blowouts, where Super Bowls would just be very boring. And I really feel like
off the top of my head, the Rams Patriots one really feels like that was really boring. Other than that.
Yeah, other than that, every year. I mean, I think
it's been pretty great.
It even started with the Patriots making all those Super Bowls where they would make it entertaining.
Yeah. It's funny, the greatest football dynasty in the world, it always comes down to like the last play. So
yeah. So there is a common theme. Yeah. Fuck them. There is a common theme, and this is how I started off last week too. We started off last week by talking about the common theme within all 5 games. I think there is very much a common theme within these 2 games, and at least the 2 teams that won the Super Bowl. 1986, 1987 team, 2007, 2008. Particularly for 1986, 1987, there was a drought, a long championship drought for the New York Football Giants, where it was the last year of Y.A. Tittle. They stunk. The last year of Y.A. Tittle's career in New York, he absolutely stunk. They had a losing record. But then the year before that, there was a stretch of like 4 or 5 years. And I feel like we forget about this. As Giants fans, we forget about this. Well, it doesn't 70 years ago, but we forget that before, we remember the Buffalo Bills making all those Super Bowls in the 90s, however many, 4 or 5 in a row that they made, and they didn't win one. The Giants were the same thing in the late 50s, early 60s, where they made all these championship games in a row against the Bears, the Packers a couple times. Vince Lombardi comes back to bite them in the ass when he leaves the Giants to get hired by the Packers. People get salty about Bill Belichick leaving the Giants. A similar pattern with Vince Lombardi and Tom Landry, by the way. They couldn't get any of them to stay, to promote any of them. So wild turn of events and how that all transpired. And then they were bad. 60s, they were bad. 70s, when the Super Bowl started, they were abysmal. Miracle in the Meadowlands. Herman Edwards bringing back that touchdown. I did a breakdown of that celebration snacks, the Miracle in the Meadowlands, the first one, not the first one, and how people celebrated big victories in sports. Like we could just be a part of the action. We could just run on the field and be fine.
Yeah, I always. It's funny you say that, because every time I think of like fans running onto the field, I think of Chamberlain's home run, the Yankees in the championship series to go to the World Series.
Was Reggie Jackson barreling over people?
Right, and they're all storming the field, and he's trying to run the bases, and I would give anything. It's like if that happened, if the Giants were to do something like that, and we were just able to storm the field, like a college. It happens in a college game where they storm the court or storm the field. Listen, I spent time in the Meadowlands drunk tank. I don't know where I would spend if we were able to storm the field, but funny how times change.
The people were also dressed to the nines too. Well, that's also the funny thing. I saw people like in full blazers, full like ties, and like running on the field. You're either in a full blazer or you're in a single color monocolor jumpsuit. There's no in between. No in between. So I
could respect the fashion.
They went from the dark days of the 70s, and then boom, that game, winning that game really signified like a tide and a turning point for the franchise that was a laughing stock. The NFL forced George Young, almost like the NBA forced some management on the 76ers. Like, hey, you are so bad and you're intentionally tanking. We need to force a competent person to run your franchise. Right. They did that with George Young, except I think the Giants are actually genuinely trying to win. But George Young was forced on us. And then eventually, here comes Parcells, here comes LT, here comes Sims, here comes 2 championships. So
the saving graces. Yeah.
Yeah, and then similarly for 07, I wish I could talk more about, maybe we'll pin this conversation for an interview when we have somebody who was like more of a fan, 86, 87, or someone who was just following the team, about just like what that win meant for, I can imagine it meant a lot, not just for New York, and we associate the Giants with New York and New Jersey now. The parade is in New York, but did you see the documentary The Jersey Giants?
No, I never saw that.
Whoa, we may need to watch it. We may need to do like a live.
Put it on the schedule.
Mark
it down.
A flex schedule. But
schedule.
It was on NFL Network, and I forget what the series was called, but they had a whole documentary of like the transition of the Giants into Giant Stadium in New Jersey, building that stadium up, and the fight for what their identity is. So I can imagine that wasn't just a big victory for the New York Giants and maybe the fan base that's kind of everywhere within the East Coast, but the New Jersey and its identity as the Jersey Giants is, even at one point the logo was
the logo. And I knew you were going to bring that up. It was like red, had the Jersey, the state.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say, how it's the state. Shoe, the little shoe, the thing, right in midfield. So I have to check that out, because my grandfather used to call Jersey Giants all the time. I have a hat that says New Jersey Giants, because he's like, we play in New Jersey, we're the Jersey Giants. I can understand it, stubborn old man, but hopefully we spend more time in the city with the Giants than we do in New Jersey.
Yeah.
That's so for the ticker tape parades, Justin. I don't know if you called.
Did you go?
Yeah, I went to both.
Any of them? Oh,
went to both.
How were they?
They were amazing. Actually, what was better were the quote unquote after party they did at the stadium.
Yes.
So they did the ticker tape parade and then they'd go back to the stadium. That was even better because, you're not like this and
you see them for 5 seconds.
Right, exactly. Once they pass, they're gone. You can't keep following them or nothing like that. So they're there. They announce everybody. It's wicked.
Awesome. So we're gonna get into. I want to hear your explanation of what the 07-08 victory meant to you and what you think it meant to like the franchise as a whole, especially considering Coughlin may have been on his way out. Eli might have been on his way out. Tiki Barber being a fucking asshole that he was.
Him.
So I want to hear.
That's the last time we bring him up, by the way.
Oh, we're not allowed.
No, that's it.
One time per off season, you have to tell the Tiki story.
Once. That's ways away.
Summer. That's a summer conversation.
Deal.
But
summer.
So we're going to kick off talking about Super Bowl 42 first. February 3rd, 2008, the New York Football Giants played the New England Patriots in Glendale, Arizona at the University of Phoenix Stadium. New York Football Giants won Super Bowl 42 by a score of 17-14 on a last-minute late game touchdown from Eli Manning to Plaxico Burress. Eli Manning was Super Bowl MVP. Snacks, before we get into the over-unders or anything like that, talking about what Vegas thinks, this game, this victory, we already talked about 87, what it might mean, having the losing stretch of championships, late 50s, early 60s, losing stretch of the 70s. What do you feel like this meant for the Giants franchise? What did it mean to you?
Well, to me, I felt like a made man after that. Just the overall victory of it. What was the spread? 12.5?
Yes.
12. See, I'm sharp. But I was watching that game with like 100 people, family and friends, and around town and with my family. I'm like the residual Giant lunatic. So the Super Bowl with everybody watching, I almost felt like I was playing. Like the pressure was on me to go out and win. And just for me, it meant the absolute world. And being able to celebrate it with everybody, hugging, kissing, throwing food in the air. It was surreal for the franchise. For that stretch of time, huge turning point, because that was pretty much Coughlin's last year. Had they not been successful, everybody wanted him out. You saw it in the newspapers, the media. Coughlin's got to go. He's done. He's shot. Can't resonate with the players. Players hate him. Stray hands holding out of training camp. Can't coach. He's done. Yada, yada, yada. And Eli too, because to that point, I don't want to say Eli was great. He was good, serviceable, maybe. So I think
there also were questions of Eli in a big game too.
Oh yeah.
05, they went 11-5. They
got rapid in the playoffs.
06, they went 8-8. They made the playoffs. So they had a couple one and dones, and the talent around. I mean, you can argue, and this is all this is us looking back on it now. Giants went out. They got Plaxico in 05.
Kareem
McKenzie. So
Pierce.
Strahan was still around. OC was still around. Pierce was still around. So all these guys that were on the team for a few years. And I think, even before they won the Super Bowl, you kind of had high regard for.
Yeah, they were solid. That was a solid roster. It was
kind of running
Eli.
out.
Right. Eli needed to take that next step. So I think that Super Bowl really propelled his confidence into different levels. Like, okay, I can do this. I've done it on the stage. I just beat Tom Brady, just beat Bill, beat the Patriots, 12.5 point dogs. I can do whatever the fuck I want. So I think it was just organizationally a huge victory, huge for Eli, and definitely huge for Coughlin. So that win meant everything.
Now,
everything.
Were you at a point in your life? Were you ever at a point in your life where you were betting on the Giants, or did you just bet on everything else?
No, never bet on them or against them ever. That's a sin.
But I mean, for a Super Bowl,
sorry, Will.
For a Super Bowl, for the spread to be 12.5, I know the Patriots were the best team of all time, but if I was a betting man, and it's so easy to say hindsight's 2020, I want to hear what you have to say. Isn't that like an insane?
It's a lot of points, especially a lot of points when in week 17 they only beat us by like 3 or it was like a one, whatever it were, maybe 10 points to max, whatever. But they held them tight. The Giants were right there the whole game to the very last second.
And this was on a neutral site.
Yeah, so that's a lot of points, especially for everybody knew the blueprint to beat Tom Brady was to generate pressure on him, and that's what the Giants did best.
Yeah.
So, very interesting that was the spread, very high.
And 54.5. Well, I guess they're going off of the first game where they're thinking, okay, the first game
for sure.
First game,
they're probably automatically putting in 30 points for the Patriots right there.
Right. Let's start off with game ball shithead. Let's start off with shithead because we won Super Bowl. Let's leave off on a positive note, and then some other conversations can arise from shithead game ball. Who do you want to give your giant shithead to for Super Bowl 42?
So I gave him a lot of credit last week, but I'm gonna give it to this is like, I mean, the game is just so well played. I'm gonna give it to Corey Webster. Because I mean, he did great against Moss the whole game, but he did
fall down. Yeah,
he did fall down, and he caused a lot of unnecessary agita by letting Moss easily catch that go-ahead touchdown pass.
Love that word.
Yeah, I mean, it's agita, all agita. So yeah, that was unnecessary, and I thank him for all of his contributions and what he did, especially the week before, 2 weeks before that against Brett Favre. But that one pissed me off. So Corey Webster is my shithead. Hard to choose.
All right, so it's 14-10 with 2 minutes and 42 seconds left. Giants put together a nice drive. Kevin Boss has a big gain in the in the fourth quarter where they're tagging on his jersey and he's running down the field for 20 yards. I think Steve Smith has a really nice third down conversion towards the red zone, and then Eli Manning puts a really nice throw together, which actually has a lot of similarities. That the Eli Manning to David Tyree touchdown, I was watching this and I'm like, holy shit, there's a ton of similarities between that throw and Victor Cruz and the Victor Cruz touchdown in 2011, because I was even watching Eli this game just overall. He put zip on the ball.
He did. He had a little gunslinger in him.
And the two touchdowns, Cruz 2011 against Patriots, first touchdown of the game, and then this touchdown, both had a Patriots defender right there, where if the ball's thrown any slower, it's either deflected or it's intercepted
or it's picked off. Yeah.
Yeah. And
so he was threading that needle.
Yeah. In both games.
In typical Eli fashion too, just not giving a fuck and throwing it where he wants to and just dipping it in there. And Cruz had the little bobble, and Tyree kind of squirmied in your pants too a little bit. So
Tyree couldn't catch anything that week.
No, he couldn't. I wanted to bring that up too. And well, I'll bring it up in a second. So who was your shit?
We'll save it. But my whole point is about bringing up that Randy Moss touchdown. It's 14. So then the Patriots go down, and I don't think you have any doubt, because the Tyree touchdown made it 10-7. So you don't have any doubt in your brain that Tom Brady's going to come back and put another touchdown on the board, right?
Not a doubt in the world, no.
So it's 14-10.
No.
2 minutes 42 seconds left. Because again, I'm at this point I'm a child, but you're more of a grown man. You can tell me your reaction to your feelings. What were you feeling at that time? Was there doubt? We're fucked.
Yeah. I was like, it's too good to be true.
Mm-hmm.
That happens. Webster falls down. It's like, okay, well, that's our fate. That's what we'll remember. And this is Eli. Like, he's not, he's not his brother. He's not Peyton. He's not, I don't know who was great at the time, Favre, Breeze, whoever. He's not them. He's not, we haven't seen him do it in that big of a stage and in that moment.
We knew he could do the 2-minute offense. I mean, that was
no. I know. When we saw that in the playoffs too. Yes, I know. But I mean, I thought we were fucked. I really did.
Yeah.
But we weren't. So
my shithead. This is actually kind of a good transition. My shithead, or my shitheads, the entire left side of the Giants offensive line. Because really,
embarrassing.
We lose the game if Eli Manning does not miraculously get out of that pile. And I have the kind of the play-by-play here. You have Eli Manning pass incomplete. That's 2nd and 5. So this was 3rd and 5. 3rd down.
Yeah.
So Bobby
Pressure
Skinner
from
actually
Thomas off the edge. Eli Manning stays on his feet, airs it out down the field. It is caught by Tyree.
You use the same level of energy Joe Buck used as well.
Perfect, right?
Well, you got to use. That's what I always refer to the Bob Papa call there.
I hate the Bob Pop call.
Why?
Because Tyree's not wide open.
Oh yeah, that is true.
He goes wide open downfield, Tyree, but he wasn't wide open.
He makes the catch.
Yeah.
Oh, that
and Carl Banks like, oh my goodness, but he wasn't wide open. When he threw that ball, you could see you had
James Harrison,
all-world safety Rodney Harrison on him.
James Harrison.
That was Rodney Harrison.
I know. I said James Harrison like a dumbass.
Oh, okay. Well, strike one.
Yeah.
Strike one. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm sorry, Bob. You're an amazing announcer, but not wide open. Not by any stretch. Real quick, and then I'm sorry. I don't mean to steal your game ball thunder here, but did he ever like explain what he was thinking in that moment?
Bob Papa?
Why he said wide open when he really wasn't?
I mean, here's the thing, though.
I'm gonna tweet him and ask him.
Imagine how fast everything is happening. Because you have a stunt that's run by the Patriots, and I just rewatched a Bobby Skinner breakdown where he said, Bobby Skinner, good friend of the program. He did a breakdown, and he kind of titled it "Make Your Own Luck." Right? I think a lot of people were saying at the time Eli retired, you know, when somebody retires, you know, basically when something ends and somebody doesn't die, people like to shit on it. So people were shitting on, you know. Thank you, Eli. People were shitting on Eli's career and, you know, not a first ballot Hall of Famer. The helmet catch was a lucky play, blah, blah, blah. So he broke it down. He's like, look, this isn't luck. Sure, there's some, you know, you need luck in football to win, but also the way that he broke it down, you know, there was a stunt that was run by the Patriots. Snee was just on an island. You know, nobody was by him. O'Hara got beat. Soyber got beat. Deal got beat. Everybody got beat.
Everybody got beat.
Everybody got beat. And when Eli breaks containment, which is just, you know, tenaciousness, a tenacity just to do it, you know, when he's also a klutz, but when he's a klutz by himself anyway. But to also not just throw the ball away on third down and live to survive another down.
No.
You know, the Giants went at that time, they called their first timeout with a minute and 20 seconds left. They were on their own 44-yard line. They started the drive at their own 17-yard line. So in a matter of 20 seconds, they barely went over 20 yards. Went 22 yards in 20 seconds.
That's not ideal when you need a touchdown.
No. And they had the luxury of time with 2 minutes and 42 seconds with the 2-minute warning plus a couple timeouts. But you're looking at 3rd and 5 and you're at midfield and time is dwindling and you need a touchdown. Right. And Eli was one to always say, I always prefer a field goal. I always prefer
a touchdown because
I always prefer to be down by 4.
You get complacent when you get in the field goal range and that throws your offense off. Yeah,
right. Or it throws I think it threw his psyche off where it's just like, I don't know what I want to do. Just give that man one mission to put the ball in the end zone when it needs to be put and he'll do it. So, but that play kind of personifies who Eli Manning is and was as a quarterback, you know, to get out of there, stumble out of there when he's a klutz. You know, it's not pretty to have that goose egg of a throw, which even in a clean pocket, Eli will give you a goose egg of a throw and a goose egg of a spiral. And then to have David Tyree, out of all people, all pro special teamer, come down with the catch on his helmet with all pro safety on top of him, which is Rodney Harrison, not James Harrison. Just awesome.
Yeah, and that's awesome. It's phenomenal, and that it's a great segue to my game ball, and that's David Tyree. I mean, how could I not give it to him? The man, we brought it up a little bit before, but if you watch America's game, the 07 Giants, Coughlin and Eli were talking about how he could not catch the ball in practice. The last practice before the Super Bowl, he couldn't catch the ball. He said they dropped everything, and sure enough, this lifetime special teamer dumbass catches the ball on his helmet, and before that, scores a touchdown. Who else can I give the game ball to? It's too easy.
Yeah, Eli, I will say that there actually is EPA data. I know. Here we go. I get one time per episode to get super analytically.
Yeah, you got 30 seconds.
Even though the final box score for Eli Manning doesn't look that great, but the way the pass game produced in this game was phenomenal. The EPA for the passing EPA per per play in total was pretty phenomenal. It was pretty cool to see. So Eli did deserve that MVP. But David, I mean, just what a story. You also do deserve that MVP too.
Thank you.
So your game ball is going to Tyree. Your shithead went to Corey Webster. Tough 2 weeks for Corey Webster.
Yeah, I know.
Tough.
Well, I said some nice things about Corey last week.
We did. We said some good things. Go listen to last week too.
He's getting some burn here. All right. A lot of Corey Webster talk on the podcast here.
That is true. Most talk he's gotten a while. Good. Any publicity is good publicity, they say.
Always. No mail is good mail.
My game ball goes to Jay Alford.
What a hit.
Does he deserve it?
No.
Maybe not.
No.
But that is my favorite moment as a Giants fan.
When he barrels up the middle and just crushes Brady.
It looks, at the time, I thought he murdered him.
Mm-hmm.
Like murder.
It was like a Leonard Marshall or
Jim. It almost looks like it almost looked like the Jim Burt hit. The Jim Burt hit
very close.
Was
yeah.
The Jim Burt hit was more of a bigger hit on Joe Montana, like where it just like it hurt him.
Yeah, you could feel it. Like rewatching the game now, like I'll do 4 or 5 times a year. You could feel it.
Yeah,
you feel that, and it's amazing.
Jay Alford kind of hugged him a little bit. I gave Jay Alford the nickname the Blueberry because he kind of. Well, he looked.
He took the quarterback down.
His shape just looked like a blueberry.
Yeah, well, I could tell you who didn't look like a blueberry. That was Kevin Booth, fattest ass in the league.
Fattest ass in the league.
I don't know why I thought of that. Sorry, you were talking about body types.
He was a starter. I think he was a starter in Super Bowl 46, which is
he was. Yeah.
Oh god, that offensive line was so
great
bad.
Center Kevin Boss, and I know we've spent a lot of time on 07, but
yeah.
Last thing, that Hail Mary to Randy Moss on the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of spooky. Like that was closer than it should have been. Just saying.
I think I forget about that. I always remember how if Rob Gronkowski's
it wasn't close, but it was closer than it should have been. I'll say that. There was only 2 guys back there. I think it was Jabril Wilson and Corey Webster. Maybe it was Jabril and James Butler. I think it was 2 of the 3, but way too close for comfort.
Yeah. There was a lot of things we didn't talk about this game. We may have to we should do an episode where we do a profile of the season or something, but there's a lot of things we missed. We didn't talk about the defensive line and how they dominated Tom Brady. Michael Strahan,
4th and 1.
Jake, a terrible short yardage running back.
I still terrible. To this day, I don't think he got it, but
terrible.
I don't care.
Justin Tuck should have arguably been the Super Bowl MVP with 2 sacks, a couple QB hits, big sacks. I think he also had a forced fumble in there as well.
Steve Smith
caused the interception with the pass. There was he
did.
Popped the ball up.
He did, but he redeemed himself.
There was a lot of redemptions, including an Eli Manning fumble on 3rd down. It spurts out. Patriots aren't able to recover it. Steve Smith recovers it in front of the 1st down marker. Mm-hmm. So he kind of made up for it. He caused a turnover and then he saved a turnover. Plus, was there ever
3rd down?
Was there ever? Well, I feel like every ball
on the final drive.
Every ball that he caught in this game, and I'm pretty sure every ball in his career it was a 3rd down reception.
Yeah, he had 112 receptions one year. I think they were all on 3rd down.
Yeah. His 09 season was awesome. It's a shame he couldn't stay healthier for a longer time. And honestly, well, honestly, 2009 was his first year as hey, you're the number 1 wide receiver,
and he excelled.
So I kind of wish that I don't wish Plaxico shot himself earlier, but I don't wish he shot himself at all. But he got the chance to really shine. I think Steve Smith would be the perfect slot guy in today's game, where even in an offense where you have a number 1 wide receiver, he would still get maybe 70, 80 catches every year, but his catch rate would be somewhere around 100 targets.
Cole Beasley.
Yes. I love that comparison.
And I love Cole Beasley.
We did forget a lot about this game, but we talked about it for a long time.
We can get back to it.
We'll get back to it. Well, that's the luxury of having this Giants history show. History ain't going anywhere.
Nope.
It's a good line.
That is very good.
History ain't going anywhere.
It's almost like saying invest in land because God's not making any more of it. So
Amen. Amen. Let's talk about 1986, 1987 for a couple minutes. Super Bowl 21.
Can't talk about it. Wasn't there.
January 25th, 1987, from the Rose Bowl in California, the Denver Broncos versus the New York Football Giants. The New York Football Giants won Super Bowl 21 by a score of 39-20. Otis Anderson. Nope, not Otis Anderson. That's wrong. Phil Simms was the MVP. Snacks, game ball.
Well, you just said his name. I don't know how you don't give it to Phil Simms. He went 22 of 25, 268 yards, I believe.
Yes.
3 touchdowns, no picks, flawless second half. He was phenomenal. And for a guy who took a lot of shit that year and he made his mark in Giants history forever. Yeah. And for whatever he did after that, he's still known that's the first Super Bowl. He was the ringleader of it all. And, I'm not the biggest Simms guy. We never saw him play, but just what you hear and stuff like that, I'm very happy for him. Parcells came in and he had Scott Brunner starting at quarterback because, Simms went like 3 years in a row where he had season-ending injuries. So I think it was 85, maybe it was 86, whichever year. Or it was 85. He started the year off with Brunner and the Giants sucked. And Parcells goes back to Simms, and sure enough, he leads that magical season. So a little redemption tour for Simms, capped off with a miraculous Super Bowl victory. Game ball, baby. The last one you'll ever get.
Giants were 9-point favorites.
Covered. Which
doesn't surprise me because, in particular, when they shut out the Washington football. No, I'm sorry. They shut out San Francisco. They kicked their ass.
And San Francisco was much better in Denver, yeah.
Yes, they kicked their ass in the divisional round.
Yep.
And then they shut out Washington 17-0 when they were favored in that game anyway. So, and Washington also lost 6 games that year, and the Giants lost 2. So that Giant team was just so incredibly dominant.
Machine.
Yeah. When Joe Morris was, still trucking along with the Giants too. I kind of figured that maybe he's in this prime. Bavaro's younger, compared to 4 years later.
That was probably a young Bronco team. Elway was younger, so that spread makes sense.
Let's talk about Elway though.
Yeah,
and make sure you show your friend Max the Animal this. John Elway was slinging it a little bit.
Slinging it.
He was slinging it a little bit.
Yeah, he was a great quarterback.
He was slinging, but in this game in particular, and also let's talk about the connection. Again, I'm a young fan. I was not around for 1989, so I saw on Pro Football Reference just opening up head coach Dan Reeves. I'm like, what the fuck? Because I knew from over the summer we talked about Dan Reeves, how he was the coach of the team for a couple years in the 90s. It was after Parcells' replacement comes up. Can't even remember his name. I don't even want to bring him up because he fucking sucked. They promoted. Yeah, I don't know. Perkins, you said?
Was it Perkins?
I don't want to bring him up. It caused a lot of people frustration on social media.
Yeah.
A lot of people frustration Parcells' replacement. But people like Dan Reeves. I kind of asked, was Dan Reeves kind of like a hire that we liked post Parcells' replacement? And people were like, yeah, he was respected.
Right? Yeah.
He was respected. Again, NFL with retread head coaches. It even started in the 80s and the 90s. So
the NFL really doesn't change much, does it?
It really. Hey, one of the things that we're pointing at, that I think we're going to point out. We point this out in history class in school, right? Where history. You find that history repeats itself. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Ray Hanley, by the way.
You could say the same thing. Ray Hanley. Thank you.
That was going to bother me. Sorry.
And you could say the same thing about football, where even the Giants, I will say, on offense, just looking at them on offense and their offensive philosophies, a lot of pre-snap motion. That's something that we talk about today. I was watching it now. Every time they would put a wide receiver in motion and they would put him on the weak side of the line of scrimmage, or weak side of the field, I should say, like weak side of the field, we're opposite the tight end. Every time they did that, and it was motion at the snap, you knew that it was going to be a Joe Morris run to the other side, to the strong side of the tight end, I think.
So you mean to tell me, in the fossil era of football in the 80s and whatnot, the Giants were motioning people across the line of scrimmage?
Who was the offensive coordinator at the time?
In the 80s?
Yeah,
86?
I have it right here. No, I don't. Never mind. I don't. Football Reference doesn't say. Let us know in the comments. Oh, wait, no, it's Ron Earhart. Never heard of it.
Ron Earlhart has more intelligence in his left hand than Jason Garrett does in his whole fucking body.
There was a couple flea flickers. Well, there was
Getting that
one
out of the way.
there was one flea flicker in particular where it was McConkey had 2 catches this game, 2 catches for some 50 yards. The 6-yard touchdown,
Shout out to the towel.
which McConkey's towel, shout out, best account on social media. We're both, obviously the most famous plays in franchise history where Bavaro has the ball in his hands. By the way, ball in his hands. Phil Simms puts, he had to contort a little bit, but he had 2 hands on it, bounces off his shoulder pads, bounces off his helmet. McConkey's right there, and he falls on it. Somehow they're running the same route right next to each other. Don't know how that works, but
That's Jason Garrett. That's the Jason Garrett I know.
That's Jason Garrett. But the flea flicker play that set up that touchdown in the second half, it was a 44-yard catch from McConkey where he was running a crossing pattern, and then Joe Morris flea flickered it back. Phil Simms stepped up. Nice throw, wide open.
Beautiful throw, yeah.
So there were some fun offensive things that the Giants did in the first half, which I thought set some things up for them in the second half, because that's when most of their explosive plays.
Yeah, that they opened it up second half.
Yeah, it came in the second half. So, fun game.
Well, it's a blowout. Did you give a game ball?
My game ball's going to a good friend of the program, a good friend of mine, Carl Banks.
Oh, He did not just do football as a hobby, by the way.
No, well, I do this for a hobby, according to him.
That was the joke.
Yeah, he did not do football as a hobby. He
good ball player.
If Phil Simms, if there was an offensive MVP and a defensive MVP, I think Carl Banks would deserve it. Leonard Marshall had a bananas postseason, by the way. He had another 2 sacks this game.
Yeah, he was a monster, huh? Very. I don't want to say underrated, but kind of is when you think about it.
Yeah, and obviously it helps that when you have Carl Banks rushing the passer, when you have Lawrence Taylor rushing the passer, George Martin had a safety this game. He also had a forced fumble. So all these, even though LT, maybe Harry Carson, those guys didn't put up huge numbers during the postseason, or particularly the 2 games that we looked at.
The threat of them was there, so
the threat of them is there. So it opened up George Martin. It opened up it definitely opened up Leonard Marshall. Leonard Marshall, had a game-saving play and game-changing play against San Francisco in the 90 championship, and then he also had 2 sacks this game. But Carl Banks was everywhere. Carl Banks was making plays both in the run game. He had a couple pass deflections, like he made diving plays against some tight ends and coverage. Like he was just everywhere. He had a really good game. The disregard, and one of the things that I noticed too, this is with Banks in particular, but with all these guys too, the disregard for your body and the disregard for your safety.
They didn't give a fuck.
No, crazy.
Different era, very
Psychopaths.
Different era. You touch the quarterback now, it's 15 yards, and you have to spend the night in jail. Yeah. So very different era, I will say.
Yeah.
It's gonna be difficult to give a shithead here.
I don't really have a shithead. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, I didn't have one written down, but I'm always gonna give one. So I'm gonna give mine to Bill Parcells.
Oh, this is controversial. I don't know if I like this. Why are you gonna give it to him?
Well, I know Bill Belichick was the D coordinator, but that's Belichick's principle. Parcells' principles on defense, and they let up 20 points, which is a little too much for my liking. And they only won by 19. Scored 39. Couldn't score 40. Couldn't run it up a little bit.
It was 10-9 at halftime.
Couldn't make a fucking statement. So you only scored 30 points in the second half. That's it. And then you let up 11. Sorry, Bill. You're my shithead.
Scoreless.
And I don't feel bad for it either.
Scoreless third quarter. That was the main difference.
So what happened in the fourth?
That's true.
It's a four-quarter game.
The changing point, like if there's a show that airs on Monday morning. Don't know if it still airs. NFL Turning Point.
No, I have no idea.
You've never heard of it?
No, I've heard of it. I don't know if it's still on.
I don't know if it's still on. But if that was airing in 1987, the turning point of that game would be in the first half. I don't know when. I think it's probably the second quarter. It's second quarter. I would say second quarter. There was a fake punt. Sean Landeta initially lines up for a punt, then it turns into a QB sneak, which I don't know how you're not adjusting, by the way. Like, they're not going to throw the fucking ball. Like, I don't know how,
Not
if
at
you're
that point.
Denver and you're the special teams, how are you not adjusting to just crash on the A gap? Because then whoever the quarterback was lining up to, fake the punt, I guarantee it was the second string quarterback.
I'm sure.
Wasn't like it wasn't even a gunner that was lined up there. It was like, it was a quarterback from the start, and they didn't know that this was coming. Then he picked up the first down. I think it led to a Mark Bavaro touchdown in the first half. So that was like the game-changing point of the game. And also why I say Carl Banks gets my game ball is because I want to clip this entire thing. There's 3 insane plays that the Giants have to stop the Denver Broncos where they're in the red zone. They have a nice big drive. They're driving down the field. There are 3 plays in a row that LT makes a play, Carson makes a play, and Banks makes a play.
The Big Blue Wrecking Crew right there.
Right there. Like, it was in succession with each other. They made 3 insane plays to stop the Denver Broncos from scoring, and then they missed the field goal. They missed the chip shot field goal, and then Giants get the ball back. So, one of those things. It's one of those things, and again, I think we said this last week about some points where you just know.
Oh yeah, it's at that point it's destiny.
Yeah.
That goes your way.
Yeah.
Pretty cool to have linebackers. That must have been nice. Now we don't even have one. So.
Wow.
What?
I'm not going to say anything. It's Giants History.
Not to say his name.
Not even going to say it. It's Giants History Podcast. He's on the team now.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry. Any little chance I can get to dig at him, I will.
John Madden, Pat Summerall, really good.
Very good.
They were. Did you watch the game? Did you watch some of the game? They were showing like. I put this in quotes. They were showing like some next gen stuff. Did you pick up on it?
No, I didn't. Now that you say that, though.
They showed Elway's like completion percentage by target depth. 0 to 10 yards, 10 to 20 yards, 20 to 30.
That was an 87.
That was a 19. And the crazy thing is that I crave that information right now. Like, that is the information that I'm looking up at the end of every game. What is Daniel Jones' completion percentage and the amount of yards he produces by target depth? Because it's not just. It's not just his completed passes, attempted passes, total yards. It's not just that. I want to see where he's completing passes, how he's completing passes. And that was stuff that was shown just on the broadcast. They had to manually keep track of it. It wasn't a computer that just kept track of it. There wasn't player tracking data. And then also, one of the other things that they showed, I think they showed this for a Broncos defender. They showed he was a defensive lineman, all of the different positions at which he lined up. This amount of snaps next to the left tackle, this amount of snaps next to the left guard, et cetera, right down the offensive line. And I'm like, oh my God.
You're in heaven.
This is helpful. This is like helpful information about like football players, what they're doing, how it makes sense with the game, where I really do think football broadcasts, like watching it now and then seeing what we do, like on Talkin' Giants, the way that we try to break down the game, and then seeing the way that John Madden and Pat Summerall break down the game. And it's like, I'm glad they're not around because they would make us look bad.
Yeah.
And broadcasts today, like, they make us look good because of how unintelligent they are.
It's funny how that works, right? You would think nowadays it would be the opposite, but
there was a couple of minutes where John Madden was talking about the physics of. I'll try to put it on the screen right now.
I don't even know if I want to know.
John Madden was talking about like the physics of how a spiral works with like the front of. Do I have one on my desk? Shit. All right, I don't. But yes, I do. So he was talking about the physics of throwing a football, where he was like circling and drawing around like the nose of it right here. And he was like drawing circles over and over. He loved to use that fucking prompter thing.
Loved the board.
Really went crazy with it.
Loved it.
And like somebody dropped the ball on the Broncos and he was describing like the physics of how a spiral works. It was insane. It was absolutely insane.
And people thought John Madden was a doofus.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Smartest man in the room. Plays chess, not checkers.
I may not remember what he was doing towards the end of his career. I can imagine old John Madden was wild. Was a wild time, and I may have to go back and listen to it. But prime John Madden, oh, what it was
No
a
one better.
show. It was a
No one
show.
better. No one better. I also wish they would bring back the Super Bowl to the Rose Bowl.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
I
was
know
historic.
I know it's college, and I know it's like the big thing. The Rose Bowl is the big one in college, but that place is just so historic and beautiful.
Was this the Whitney Houston game, or was that 90?
Oh fuck! I think that
hold
was
on.
90. I think it was 90.
Let's check it. Whitney Houston.
I'm going 90.
Whitney Houston Super Bowl. Star Spangled Banner. What Super Bowl did Whitney Houston sing at? It was 25. Yes. Good for you. All right. Is there anything else you want to add to this show? I feel like we missed out on a lot, but I also had a really good time.
I did too. To be honest, I know we're gonna go longer. We say 30 minutes, whatever the case, but once we get on a roll, that's just what happens, and I'm not going to apologize for that. Then again, I don't have to edit it. But anyway, no, that's really it. 2 legendary, great Super Bowls, one of which we got to witness and really propelled our fandom to different heights. So that was a great time.
And the other one we get to appreciate, I'm really enjoying going back and watching these games. I love that they're available on YouTube. I love hearing John Madden, love hearing Pat Summerall, love seeing Bill Parcells, love seeing what Bill Belichick is doing on the sideline. All that's just so fun. So keep on bleeding blue. We will see you next week. We are talking about Super Bowl 25. We are talking about Super Bowl 46. We will see you then. Keep on bleeding blue. Have a great week. Love you all. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, do whatever. We'll see you next week.
Peace.